Welcome to Scalable and Saleable, where we find out what great entrepreneurs have done to scale their business to millions. Stay right here for the next few minutes to leverage validated methodologies for growth and create a way more scalable and a more sellable business for yourself. Let's get started. Would you mind just telling our audience a little bit about, who you are and what your business is?
Well, thanks for having me, Jeff. My name is Jay Berkowitz, and my business is called 10 Golden Rules. 19 years ago, I was asked to speak at the Direct Marketing Association, and I was working at a .com, and I wrote this presentation called the 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. And 5 or 6 people rushed up to me at the end and said, "Oh, we've got to hire you." If you remember 19 years ago, Google was still in beta, Mark Zuckerberg was still in high school, and everybody's like, "Oh, we got to figure out this internet thing." So I started a consulting business and digital agency called 10 Golden Rules. And now over the years, we've morphed. We pretty much deal with law firms, doing marketing for law firms, but we still have some fun clients. Like my buddy opened a jet company in the middle of COVID, private jet company called Verijet, and we work with a university and some cool travel tourism. But the majority of the time, we're talking to lawyers and personal injury and other.
So you took it from this presentation to a business, what do you attribute your growth to?
Well, I guess first I would say the branding. Like if you have, you've got to have something that people can, sort of grab onto, right? So, I started with the 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing as my keynote presentation and my book and my blog and my podcast. And 19 years ago, that was very unique. Like I said, very few people were
Right.
doing internet marketing and very few people were expert in it. And so I was able to position myself as an expert. And then, from that learning, I continued to find the next important thing, as opposed to the next great thing. But really got in early on blogs, and I had a blog and became expert in blogging, even though now it sounds like it's everybody knows what a blog is. But of course, when they just came out, and then I did a podcast and interviewed some, like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's now a famous podcaster, and he was on our podcast when he was a wine guy. And
That's amazing.
we interviewed Craig
Wine
Newmark, the
library.
founder of Craigslist. And so always being positioned as cutting edge. And I wrote a book and a presentation in 2018 called Digital Future 2020, talking about artificial intelligence and Bitcoin and blockchain. And so always positioning myself and our company as experts. And we put the time in with a lot of innovation to always understand what's next and what's important.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, because I had a company in the litigation space back in those days, and I remember when Yellow Page ads went away, they were lost. They were like lost. Like, what were you? That's like their one trick was phone book ads, and when those went away, a lot of them were in denial, and so you helped a lot of people. I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way based off all your past experiences and seeing under the hood of all these different businesses. If you were just coming into a brand new, different business, what would be some of the first things that you think you'd look into to start growing that business?
Well, look, if you're brand new business, I think some of the basics, like you need a web page, a website, obviously, and some decent SEO, search engine optimization. The simplest tip I give people is just answer questions. And if you answer one question a week or one question a day, and put that as a blog post, or even better, a video and a blog post. Answering questions is essentially SEO, search engine optimization, because people are asking, like if we go back to your medical litigation company, they'd be asking like, who's an expert on medical litigation? What kind of documentation can you show in a trial? What do I do for a slip and fall? And so the types of questions people would be asking, if you answer those questions, regardless of your business, and put those questions on your website as a video or just a blog post, you're positioning yourself with Google to answer the questions. And so that's kind of like the basics of blocking and tackling.
Yeah, that's a great tip, is like, what are the questions that your intended audience are asking, and how can you answer those questions and to have be getting attention in that way. What do you feel most small business owners do wrong?
Um, I mean, maybe they're just too scattered. You know, a lot of times, like the smaller firms or the like, you know, we, as I mentioned, we mostly deal with attorneys and law firms, and so the firms that have a lot of success are very focused, and the firms that have the least success are trying to do too many things, and they're you know, a mile wide and an inch deep. So you know, pick a couple things that are going to make an impact on your business. Do them very well, very consistently, put it on a calendar. You know, of course, I'm talking from a marketing standpoint, but even from a business standpoint. We have a very successful internal methodology that I got from Mastering the Rockefeller Habits.
Mm.
A great book, and there's a series of additional books, and we're spending a lot of time with EOS too, the Entrepreneur's Operating System, and they talk about the rocks. So we do a brainstorming every quarter for our company, and we look at the top strengths and weaknesses, and then we look at the trends in our industry and society in general, and then we pick the top projects and we brainstorm. What are the projects that are going to either accentuate our strengths, compensate and fill in the holes on our weaknesses, and capitalize on the trends? And so every quarter we brainstorm on all the projects we could do to work on, and then we pick the top 5. And no matter what, we get the top 1 done. And so that's the kind of focus I was talking about. It's been very, very successful for our company. And we also at 10 Golden Rules, we go meet with our clients and do the same brainstorming exercise, and we share these strategies. We as a matter of fact, I do a monthly webinar, and we're doing a planning webinar, an annual planning webinar. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can see all our webinars. And I talk about this methodology of selecting those top 5 priorities and then executing throughout the quarter or the year.
Yeah. You mentioned 2 really helpful books. Are there any other books that have been influential on your business?
Yeah. You know, I mean, Think and Grow Rich is coming to mind. And that's a great starter for entrepreneurs. Napoleon Hill, it's the classic,
Yeah.
you know, written in the early 1900s.
Yeah, I used to do a good Napoleon Hill impersonation. Oh, like, start where you are.
That's pretty good.
Attack. There'll be curves in the road. You'll worry about them when you get there. Attack.
As a matter of fact, there's a bit of a plug for 12 Mavens, because one of the core principles in Think and Grow Rich is about building a mastermind.
A mastermind alliance.
Finding a mastermind is great for a small business too. I've been involved in a number through the years, and you know, when you get, I'm in a phenomenal mastermind now with like 60 other agencies that are niche focused, and everyone's doing over $1 million in recurring revenue, and the amount of coaching we do for each other is incredibly powerful.
None of them are as smart as all of you guys combined together. A lot of the members of our groups are in both like an industry specific group where they're talking really more like in the business kind of stuff, sort of like the technician side, as Michael Gerber would say, and then they're also in a totally diverse group, or like where they're totally different industries, different backgrounds, different unique abilities, as Dan Sullivan would say, and they're getting those outside perspectives and like transplanting like the thing that works really good in for this guy with a tech company or a construction company, and or girl with a e-commerce business, and they're able to just like transplant that innovation in a similar way.
The other starter book that comes to mind would be E-Myth. And you mentioned Michael Gerber. So E-Myth, like, it was fantastic. I read it when I started my book, and the essential principle there is that you systematize everything. And I worked early in my career, I worked for McDonald's restaurants as a director of marketing, and that's the ultimate system, right? Like, you can get the same Big Mac in Boston and Berlin, exactly the same, because everything from the growing of the potatoes and the grain that goes into the bun, that goes into the everything is systematized. And so the squish on the Big Mac sauce comes from the same unit and it's the same amount on every
Yeah.
Big Mac. And so if and we very early on developed these systems for our business.
Yeah.
Now they're in a software system called ClickUp, but we have a
Yeah.
very SOP, standard operating procedures. So everything we do it really well. When we train someone, they do it, with 19 years of our best practices, learning and experience. So I would recommend that kind of systemized thinking
Yeah.
as you start your business and as you scale your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. The E-Myth Revisit is like a must read for every entrepreneur, probably multiple times, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs who have read it or listened to the audio of it, but aren't doing it. So it's like probably a multiple times read or listen to. One of the CEOs in one of our 5 million to 100 million size companies, CEO peer groups, real successful guy, and he left a group and joined our community, and the author of the E-Myth, Michael Gerber, came up. He's like, oh yeah, he was one of the other members of my last peer group that I just left. And we're like, ooh, no pressure there. Like, okay, well, let's try to make this meeting kick ass.
Yeah,
it's like, that's
great.
Yeah, that was a vote of confidence for sure. He's been in his group for a long time, so it's working out. Any parting words of advice for other business owners who are looking to grow?
Parting words. I guess I would go back to the sort of planning exercise, and while you want to get the basics right and get everything right, set some big goals. Tony Robbins calls it a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And we set our goals to triple our sales this year, and we built a business plan to try and achieve that. We built a sales team and we built a marketing program. We're not quite going to get to 3x, but we're going to be at 2.5, and which is pretty darn good. And if we set our goal to 2 and built our business plan to 2 times, we might have got to 1.5. So we'll get to 2.5. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's great, man. Congratulations on the growth, and keep it going. Thanks for all the tips and things to think about, man. Good stuff.
My pleasure. And if in particular, any of the law firms out there would like to meet, you can find me at 10 Golden Rules, and I'm Jay Berkowitz, just phonetically like it's spelled, on LinkedIn and all the social media. And I look forward to meeting you.